Hey everyone, welcome to the closing room. I'm your host, Jesse. Again, thank you for joining us this morning. I appreciate you guys. As always, if you're thinking about buying or selling real estate, buying a home again, if you're thinking about that, make sure you reach out to us. Let us know. We'd love to help you and guide you through this process. I know right now this market calls for a lot of craziness. There's a lot of conflicting advice out there and so forth. But here at the closing room, we're all about straight talk, no fluff. We're going to give you real world advice that you guys could use when you're purchasing a property. Cool?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So with me today, we have a guest. I'm going to start with Ernie. We have our guest. First time Ernie is with Solaris Landscape Design.
Correct.
Ernie, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me. Solaris Landscape Design, been in total business. We have combined experience about 25 years. Basically, we're here to help homeowners. So if you're selling your home and you want to give us some great curb appeal, we can come out, dress it up, make it look nice, so you're getting top dollar for your property. Even though landscape doesn't add a lot of value to the home, but it does add that curb appeal. Or if you just bought a home, we're here to help you make that home your entertainment piece. Dress up the front yard, make it look nice in the back. Actually, make you want to spend some time, out in your property, enjoying the beautiful weather that Arizona has, except for summer.
Yep,
But
absolutely.
we're here to help out with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
Definitely
thank you.
Reach out to Ernie. He's I know he's a good guy and he'll take care of you. So.
Cool. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. And if I didn't say it right now, I got to tell you that Ernie's not just he's also the CEO and he's the owner of Solaris Landscape Design. So, reach out to him, man. We are looking forward to working with you on some of our own projects, Ernie. So, reach out to him. We also have Josh. Josh is my kid. If you don't know, he's actually my son. He's also my partner with the Moreno Group. He's a realtor. He's an investor. So he has a lot of experience. He's been in the game for about 12 years.
Yeah,
Is that about right?
so.
12 years?
All right.
Yeah, he's been in for a while. So, Joshua, before we jump into our topics for today, man, is there anything that you want to talk about? Maybe any new listings you got going on that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I have a listing right now. I'm trying to sell over on Deer Valley and 75th. It's actually a really nice house, like a custom type home. It's 3-bed, 2-bath with a den. Just refinished the whole pool. Good living space, 36 square feet. So yeah, we're currently listed at $634,000. But
Okay.
definitely send me a message and I can get you guys some more info. And then I also have, always coming across new properties, or if, even if you're buying a house, we'd always be happy to help you with that as well.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, and I got to tell you, I saw that home. I went to his open house about a week ago. Pretty nice pattern, man. Nice layout, good flow. This is one of those where I would tell you has a nice layout, nice flow to this property. So definitely go check it out. It's got a nice curb appeal.
Beautiful area as well.
Yeah, and it's a real nice area.
Yeah, beautiful
It is.
area.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think the property backs up to a lake, but when you drive into the neighborhood, you'll see them.
Yeah, they're in there.
So it's definitely a pretty nice property.
Take some evening walks. Take
Yeah.
the dog out. Take the
For
kids
sure.
out. Yeah, that's
It's a
great
nice pad.
property.
It's a nice home. We have a lot of listings. I've got a listing myself too. So, as Josh said, just reach out to us, man. Send us a DM. Let us know. Ask us about the properties that we have. We'd be more than glad to get it out to you. If you're looking for a home, or if you're looking to invest into a property, we also got some investment properties that I think will be in line with maybe something that you may be looking for. So reach out. For the listeners, obviously, again, we are available. If you're looking to buy or sell, we are available, 7 days a week. So reach out to us, man. Let us know what you're looking for. We love to help you along the way. So let's jump into our topic. All right. So today we're going to talk about, or we're going to go over what I call the 5-point checklist that we use with our buyers when they're buying a home for the first time. Or if it's not your first time, but you've never used a checklist before, the 5-point checklist is going to help you along the way, you guys. So it's pretty key. If you got a minute, run and grab yourself a pen, grab a notepad, take some notes. If you don't, then reach out to me anyways, and I'll do my best to get something out to you. Cool? So what are the 5-point checklist? What is that? Let me tell you what they are. We're going to talk about, number one, we're going to talk about the neighborhood vibe, right? When you're buying a home, it's all about, does it feel good? Is this my neighborhood that I want to be in, right? Number two, we're going to talk about the layout and the flow of the property, right? Is it designed the way I want it to? Does it have the room counts the way I want it laid out? Does it work for you? Does it work for you and your family, right? Number three, we're going to talk about the big 3 ticket items, right? What are those things? Well, I'll tell you. It's the roof, it's the HVAC of the house, and it's the water heater. These things are very expensive when it's time for replacement. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about as well water and moisture in the house, right? Things to look for. Does the house have any water or moisture issues in the property? We'll talk about that. We'll dive in that. And lastly, we'll talk about the potential of a good property versus a money pit property, right? We don't want to get you into something, or you don't want to get into a property where you're going to have some problems down the road. This actually will be your guide in looking past, the fresh paint, the staging of the home. I want you seeing the true bones of this property, right? We want you to know what you're getting, the layout of this home and so forth. What's your guys' thoughts though? When I say the 5-point checklist, I know Josh, you use it. Ernie, your first time here, but I know you've got some mortgage and real estate background experience.
A little bit of insurance
But
as well.
what's your any thoughts you guys on that as far as the 5-point checklist?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to, be working with someone that has something outlined for you to look at, and you're not just kind of winging it. So yeah, definitely checklist is important. I think I'll be going over some good ones right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, appreciate that. Well, let's start with number one, right? And that's the neighborhood vibe, right? We talked about that. So again, you're not just buying a house, you're buying location, location, location. You guys heard that before?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Right? It's all about location. A lot of times buyers start looking at not just location, but they're looking at the schools, right? The schools and, the ones we're looking for their kids. Does it work out? But I got to tell you, location, location, location will bring you those schools as well, right? It's not that it's not important. I mean, having the right school district for your kids is important. Don't get me wrong, right? But does the property feel good? Is it a good vibe for you? And that's the key part, right? Does it feel good for the family? Do you love, this property? Does it feel like you could be here for a long time? Right now, the average homeowner stays in their property more than 7 years based on this market. It used to be 3 to 7 years, and they move on, they get another house, and they keep going. But with the way the rates are and the way the market is, people are a little bit nervous. They stick around. They stick around for at least 7+ years, right? So if you're going to stick around that long, then you want to make sure that it's a good property for you. You have a good vibe, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I like
So-
the vibe thing, Jesse. That says a lot, going into a neighborhood. Like, is this your forever home? Do you plan on retiring there and, building that home to your specs and your dream home to entertain and live? Are you going to be raising kids at the house? Is there enough parking for all your vehicles? Can you park in the street? How wide are the streets? There's so many little things to look at when buying a home. I like that that's
That's a good
top
point.
of your guys' list right there.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times you don't really even think about that. You're just thinking, okay, well, this is the house, and just looking at that. But there's a lot more that goes into it. Just the whole neighborhood and just making sure, like you were saying, you're gonna be there for a while, so making sure everything works out for you.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And just to add to all that, you got to go and drive into those neighborhoods and pick different dates, right? Don't just go on the weekend, family drive on a Saturday and that's it.
Right.
Go check out the neighborhood. Go out there on a Tuesday afternoon, Thursday morning, Saturday afternoon, especially the weekend when there's more people. Go in the morning, go in the evening. Take a good feel for that neighborhood and see if it's a good feel for you, right? The other one is take a look and see if the parks are maintained in your community that you want to buy into, right? Now, as we all know here in AZ, there's a lot of HOA properties. So, are they maintained, right? That's a big thing, right? The other one is, are people walking their animals, right? They're walking their dogs. Do you see them out there? I would encourage you, if you get a moment to, stop by and say hello to those people. Stop by and ask them, hey, by the way, I'm thinking about buying a house here, and I see you walking around. What do you think about this neighborhood? What's your suggestion? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? I mean, maybe be direct, be blunt. Ask, right?
Yeah.
I mean, head down.
Most people will tell you, like you said, if you stop somebody walking, most people will be honest with you and say, hey, I've been here 2 years, it's been great. Or, hey, I've been here 50 years and the neighborhood's gone to what. So most people are going to be honest with you, honestly. I mean, I know I would be.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? Go down to the local grocery store. If you got one in your neighborhood nearby, go check it out. Go to the coffee shop, things like that. Go check it out, right? Also, I know as home buyers, we also want to make sure that we're buying into a safe neighborhood. So what do? We start Googling the statistics around the area, how safe it is, what's the crime rate like, and so forth, and so and things like that, right? But I would encourage everybody listening on this call or listening to this podcast, and obviously you guys, I would definitely tell you, make sure that that you reach out to your non-emergency police hotline or police line. Give them a call, and they'll tell you about the area, man. They'll tell you what's going on, right? Do your own detective work, which is key. It's important, right? Don't rely everything on your agent if you're working one, or don't rely on Google because it may be a little bit misleading. So again, reach out to one of those non-emergency hotlines through the police department, and they'll give you that information. And again, do your own detective work.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Yeah, good advice.
All right, cool. Let's talk about number 2, which is the layout and the flow. And this one's a gimme for me. I tell you what, man, I love a house that has a good flow. All right, I love a beautiful house, but I'm a little bit worried about the layout sometimes because that could be a deal breaker for me. Right?
Definitely.
I got to be careful because I know I'm going to live there for a while. All right. When I buy a house for myself, for my family, I know it's not going to be for 3 years. It's definitely going to be 7 years plus. I mean, the house I have now is over 10 years. I love where I'm at, but I tell you that it's got to have that flow, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that, right? We're going to talk about what's a good flow and what isn't a good flow, right? Because you don't want to get into a property, man, where it has a bad flow, and you're probably thinking, well, what is a bad flow? What do you mean by that? Well, I'll tell you. Look, let's talk about a good flow. A property has a good flow is a property where perhaps the kitchen nook has a nice reading area, right? Where there's a lot of sunlight comes in, hanging out by the window right next to the kitchen, and it's a good vibe, it has a good flow to it, right?
I love a great room when I walk in. I like a big open area. So
Yeah.
I like to entertain, have people over.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that's the first thing I look at when I walk in the door. Is there a great room?
Right.
You know, is my master separated on one side of the house from the guests from the other
Yeah,
rooms?
split plan, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's,
Split
that's
plan.
personally what I look for.
Absolutely. Well, and there's a lot of things, right? I mean, you got to look at those things, right? And those are all good. That's a good flow. That's what you're looking for, right? A bad flow would be something like this, where your kitchen, man, is miles away from the garage, where you gotta haul in your groceries down the hallway just to get to your kitchen, right? That's a bad layout. Perhaps even a bad layout would be nowadays, like for example, you go buy yourself a condo, a nice home somewhere closer downtown, or it doesn't have to be downtown, but a lot of areas, you get a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. Some of these homes, they're in-suite homes, in-suite bedrooms will have their own bathrooms. So now here's the problem. In my opinion, here's the deal. You have family, you got friends coming over, and they're like, hey, Ernie, man, I need to use the restroom. Where is it? And you're like, through my bedroom, there's the
Right.
bathroom, right? So not a good flow because now they're walking through your bedroom, seeing all your personal stuff, what's
I've
on the
had a
table,
home like that.
right? Not a
Yeah.
good deal. Or perhaps the bathroom could be right next to the kitchen, next to the dining table where you guys eat,
Right.
right? So now you're hearing the mess, you're hearing what's going on in the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
Not a good place to have that layout. I'll tell you what, it's a bad layout, but it also could be a bad deal down the road when you have buyers wanting to buy a property with that, right? Josh, man, have you had a property like that? Or a buyer that says, hey, I love this home, I love the layout. And you're like, listen, man, this layout is not really a good deal. I know you like it, but here's the situation, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, man, we've seen thousands of homes, so we've seen a little bit of everything. But yeah, I guess it just has to see what works for the buyer, and then just kind of educate them also, like this. This might be your forever home, or this might be a home that you stay for a little bit. And also got to think about resale value down the line. Is it a good flow for you that works right now, but might be like very difficult for majority of the buyers or people,
Sure.
And that's something you gotta okay, well, depending on what your end goal is.
Yeah, I got you for sure. Look, I love a house. I got to tell you, I love a house with character in it. But sometimes a house that has character in it has bad layouts, right? And that could be a costly one for me down the road. If I want to sell it, it may not be a buyer's cup of tea, right? So I got to be careful as well as a buyer when I'm buying a property, not to get emotionally tied into it's a beautiful home, but I got to think about the outcome of it, man. Does the layout work out when I sell it to somebody else? Like, can I get rid of this property if I need to move in to another home, a bigger home, or a nicer home, or whatever the case may be? Then that's the $1,000,000 question you got to ask yourself. Can I live here based on this layout of this property, right? So that's key. All right, let's jump into our segment number 3, right, which is a major one, which I call the major 3 or the big 3 ticket items, right? And again, these are going to be the unsexy stuff that costs real money when it becomes an issue, right? And so, what are the big 3 ticket items? Well, it's the roof, it's the HVAC, as well as the water heater, right? These 3 mechanical things. Well, 2 mechanical and one's the roof, but for the most part, these 3 big ticket items cost a lot of money if they got to get repaired,
Definitely.
right? So what I want to make sure is that you guys bypass and let's forget about, like I said, let's forget about the granite countertops or the flooring or the paint for a second, right? What our buyers really need to look at, and like I said, they really need to look at these three things, right? And what are they? What did I just say they were? Are you guys paying attention? What are
Oh
they?
man, I was falling asleep. I think the roof was one.
Right, roof. We got HVAC and water.
And the water heater for sure, right? We got to look at those things. Look, if the condition of these things are old, outdated, it could cost some money down the road, right? I mean, a roof could cost you to $30,000 to repair, right? An HVAC system, very costly too, man. Nowadays in this market, $20,000, $30,000.
A lot of the big homes have 2 units.
Yeah, absolutely. Water heaters, not as at that extreme, but it's expensive still, right? The labor costs and all that, it's very pricey. So you got to be careful when you're doing that. Now, you guys are walking around with your buyers, or if you're a buyer and you're walking around, you see this property, you got to ask the questions, right? How old are the units? How old is this and that? You got to do your research. Now, if you're working with a realtor, as myself or like Josh, we're going to do that for you. We're going to help you along. But you got to ask these questions, and that's why the 5-point checklist is helpful, right? But if you ask the question and the seller says to you, hey, listen, everything works fine, man. The roof is brand new, or the AC, even though the AC may be outdated or whatever the case may be, and they say the AC is working great, or the water heater has never been replaced, working great. Is that a red flag? Should you guys be concerned?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should definitely be concerned. That's where I would say a home inspector is non-negotiable at that point. Get one in, right? Even if they tell you everything's working great, you still get a home inspector in. Now, if you're working with a realtor, we're going to tell you get a home inspector.
Right.
If you're working without one, I would encourage you to get one, because they're going to look at these three things, and they're going to see if the expectancy period of these are still in good condition. If they are not, hey, well, listen, you could always renegotiate and put in the offer and say, hey, I need these things to be replaced, or I need them to get fixed. One or the other, right? I mean, you have that negotiating power.
I mean, and then an old roof can affect you in, a lot of different ways. Getting insurance for the home.
Yeah,
Getting a mortgage for the home.
absolutely.
That roof, sir, is so important. When it comes to buying and insuring a home. I know a little bit about that, but yeah.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. And yeah, and it might not just be the roof. Like, it could be the roof at the beginning, but that roof will, could lead to leaks in the attic or in the walls, or it could lead to bugs or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
It all starts on the top.
Yeah, not too long ago, maybe a month ago or so, we had a microburst or one of my investment properties, and it blew the front part of the tiles off the roof.
Wow.
Right, just took it out, boom. And believe it or not, man, these adjusters or claim people came around that morning, right? And they're like, we could do this for you, blah blah blah. We could fix it. Now I know, because as an investor myself, I know how much that repair cost would be. We have a crew. I have an idea. But this guy comes around and tells me, we could fix this patch here. It's going to cost about $3,000. It was really a $250 job, but he was charging me $3,000 to get it fixed. Now that's his cost. That's how expensive it is to repair a roof. If I didn't know any better,
You paid it.
I'd be paying it, right? So that's what I'm saying. Roof, HVACs, water heaters, man, they're costly. So you got to be really careful when you get there. Now, Josh, you mentioned a little bit ago water damage. So that leads me into our fourth topic here, which is the water and moisture, right? These are red flags. These are the silent killers when you come to buying a property, right? Would you guys agree that it could be a silent killer, perhaps?
Yeah, water for a homeowner in your home is a bad thing.
Absolutely, man. It's not, it's not a place you want to be when you're buying a house that has some water damage, right? As buyers, I would encourage you to start looking for signs, right? Start looking for leaks around the house, right? Poor drainage. Look for mold around the property, right? It's important that you check for that musky smell in the house. It smells kind of weird. How many times have we walked into a house, Josh, even on a renovation property, we're like, man, this house kind of stinks, right? I mean, we've done that, right? You look at water stains in the corners of the rooms. That's where you're gonna find them, pretty much in the corners, right? If vaulted ceiling, look at the vaulted ceiling, where it lines down to the corner of the house of that room, and see if there's a stain there. See if they painted over it, right? It's important that you do that. But I tell you, man, a musky smell could lead to mold issues that we don't see. And that again is important. That's the reason why we want to make sure that you get a home inspector.
Yeah, especially for your health. If you already got respiratory problems, I mean, you don't want to live in a home that's got mold.
Yeah, absolutely. And work with the realtor. Make sure I always encourage people, I know you want to buy your own, you want to save yourself some money and things of that nature, man, but you don't know the drama you could get yourself into if you're not working with a professional that could guide you through this process.
Right. Speaking of realtors and what they do for you, I mean, there's so many things that you do that they do behind the scenes. I mean, you got Josh helped a good friend of mine sell her home a couple of years ago, made it easy, took care of all the private investor stuff that bought it and did all the, just made it really simple. So not only do they make the process simple, but, realtors, make sure that you're getting a good quality home. So definitely work with the realtor.
For sure.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Well, good point, man, Ernie. I appreciate that. And that's true. You got to, again, encourage you guys to always work with the realtor. And if you don't, at least get an opinion.
Right.
Reach out to them and get a feel for it. You never know, right? So that's my advice to my listeners. That's some advice to everyone, obviously. Again, look at the foundation, man. Look and see outside. See if the gutters are draining away from the house, right? These are all things that you want to take a look at. And again, get yourself an inspector and work with a good realtor that'll guide you through this process because it could definitely be a very expensive one. And again, the damp smell, when you start smelling the property, if the smell has a little damp smell to it or whatever the case may be.
Kind of wet dog a little bit.
Yeah, right? I mean, I've been in some homes, you're like, holy mackerel, this house kind of stinks. The carpet may look pretty good, right? But you don't know what's underneath that carpet.
Yeah.
Right? So I would definitely be worried with that. And again, if you walk into a house, and this is more so for someone that's not being represented by an agent, but if you walk into a property and you smell that, ask the question, man, has there ever been any water damage in this home? And probably a lot of times the seller's going to tell you this never had any water issues. Two things you could find out that as realtors we find out for you. We could get what we call a letter of experience that shows us if there's been any claims on this property for water damage. You may not be able to get that because you're not working with the realtor if you're being unrepresented. I definitely encourage you for that reason to work with the realtor because we can find that information, right? But if they tell you that, then you make sure you ask them and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to get my inspector and double check. I know you said there's no water issues, but definitely start, working with someone, with an inspector that's going to search for the mold in the wood or water damage or whatever the case may be, right? It's if anything, take that away. Any takeaway you could take from that, just definitely get that. Use that as an advice. All right.
I mean, you buy a house and you get a Carfax. I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
look at buying a home.
True point. Yeah, absolutely right. You buy a car, you get the Carfax, and you know everything about the vehicle, right? The condition, how many times it's been serviced, and so forth.
Yeah.
Well, you may not get that on a certain report, but the home inspector is going to find that for you. And if you have a good one, he's definitely going to find those problems for you. All right. Last but not least, let's talk about item number 5, which is the potential of a good investment property, whether you're buying or you're investing into it, versus the money pit property, whether you're going to live in it or you're going to invest into it, right? Now I know all of us here, and I know a bunch of listeners have watched shows like Flip This House, right? Renovation, how to tear it down, and they make it look so easy, right? I mean, have you guys seen that show before?
Definitely. I mean, they come in and put makeup on, a house with decent bones, and they make it look nice. And after the TV crew leaves, maybe the problems start.
Right, absolutely. And they don't show you that part. They just show you everything's pretty easy. Now, they may sometimes show, because I'll be honest with you, I mean, I see that show here and there, and sometimes they make it look like, hey, there's a little bit of problem, but it didn't cost that much, or it was a quick fix, we did this or that. Well, it's a TV show, so they're gonna get you engaged and have you enjoy it. But I'll tell you, as investors in the properties that we've done, you got to be careful about the renovation costs and make sure it's within your budget, right? I mean, this is the I guess to be brutally honest with you guys, you have to look at the renovation project before you jump into it. Don't just jump right into it because it makes it look, because you think it's easy. Mm-hmm. Joshua, let me ask you this, because I know you as an investor, you've done numerous properties where you renovated them and so forth. Have you experienced one where there was an additional expense that you weren't accounting for that it happened on your project?
Yeah, I think it happens pretty much with all the houses so far. Just because you never know, once you're actually going in there and ripping out the flooring and, put in new cabinets and everything, making sure everything looks good. It's usually something you're gonna find that can mess up your budget, and that's where it's important to kind of factor those things in and look at those big ticket items like the roof and the AC and the water heater and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I guess an example would be, we had this house, nice house, looked like it was gonna be an easy fix as far as putting some new flooring, but there was some like hardwood flooring that we didn't realize was glued to the floor, so that was gonna be a lot harder to try to take out. So that took extra time and money and everything to get that done. So yeah, just
So it happens, right? So you got to make sure you're realistic about your budget on what you're doing, right? And that's important. You got to know the difference between a realistic renovation versus the money pit, right? So, and again, man, that is, if you're a buyer and you're looking for some investment properties, I'm going to keep plugging that in, but that's why it's important that you work with a realtor or an investor that knows the game, that can help you through that process. If you know the game, I get it. All the power to you. Do what you got to do. But
I like that. That's a reoccurring thing right there. You got to speak to a realtor.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it was for so many reasons. You need to work with a realtor.
Yeah, for sure. And you got to know, you got to figure, and you got to know if the house has good bones, right, that you're buying, or if it's going to be a tear down on these projects, whether it's an investment or you're buying the home. But you got to figure out if it's really, again, if it has good bones, right? I mean, good bones means structure. The structure is sound. It's solid, right? The foundation, the framing, the roof, the layout. I mean, you got to figure out if all these things work, right? But the ugly stuff that you see inside the house, right? The carpeting, the paint, the cabinets. I mean, that's all cosmetic. That's an easy fix. It's the foundation, right? It's the framing. It's things where, man, if you got to knock that down, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So you got to be careful. And as always, you got to reach out to an inspector, because that's my advice to anyone, is always reach out to an inspector to double check that property for you before you jump into it and start dealing with it, because you just don't know what's going to happen.
One of the afterthoughts, I think, for people after they buy a home, is that's where I kind of got onto my niche, is the landscaping. Are there already existing sprinkler lines, water boxes?
Right.
Is there a ton of rocks and weeds? Do you want to live in a house that, has got weeds everywhere, or just, lots of dead grass?
Mm-hmm.
So think about that as well, when it comes to your property. Like, if it's got a small backyard, do you plan on entertaining?
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no?
Good point.
If you got a
Absolutely.
little tiny backyard, you're going to have room for maybe a table and a small barbecue. Do you want to put a pool in? Do you want to, put an outdoor kitchen?
Right.
You need additional parking. You need additional concrete or pavers. I think that's where also looking outside the home as well. What are the bones outside?
Right.
So I mean, you're talking about the structure of the home being sound and able to work with it, but going outside the home, I mean, that's the first thing people see when they walk up is the front of your home. They see the facade in the front. They see your driveway. Is it all stained with oil?
Mm.
Does you got pavers? Are the walkways lit? Are there nice plants? I mean, there's a lot that goes into, even just the landscaping and hardscaping.
Yep, absolutely. Agree. Absolutely. You know what, Ernie? Thanks for sharing that, man, because it's not just, and I get it, and you just gave me a thought here. It's not just about the layout inside the interior of the property, but you as a landscaping as a landscaper here and having that experience, man, you brought something up that I thought, I'm thinking you're right too. It's not just the interior, it's the exterior, right? Is the yard big enough to do what you want to do? If you're an entertainer, you want to bring a lot of friends over and enjoy those barbecue days and so forth. A big yard might be better than a small yard where it only fits, like you said, one table.
Yeah, I mean, and then
right?
Maybe somebody older who doesn't want the upkeep of the yard, so maybe a small yard.
Yeah.
Do you have a young couple that's got a toy hauler? They need room for their big trailer on the side. They need an RV gate. I mean, there's so much to think, and that's what you said earlier, the flow, because that flow is going to flow onto the property as well, meaning the size of the property itself, the square footage of the lot. So I mean, there's so much that goes into it to buying a home. But once again, there's that. You got to talk to your realtor. Tell them what your needs are. I mean, if you plan on long term, can you grow into the home? Are you looking to have kids? You looking at buying toys? Are you looking at entertaining? Or are you just thinking of having a nice, simple, quiet life? You need a little yard. There's a lot to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Thanks for sharing, dude. See, I'm glad you showed up today.
See?
Shoot. adding more to my to our podcast here.
I try.
I'm gonna have to invite him back.
Yeah, hey, I'd love to come back. Hey, you know what? I also do mortgages and I do insurance. So hey,
Oh, there you go. Look at him, plugged
I'll
himself
just,
in.
I'll just come with a different shirt next time. You know.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate that. You know what? I'm gonna invite you back for other stuff too.
Cool.
So get ready for that. I mean, we are gonna have a lot of things going on through our podcast as always. But I do appreciate that, man. So keeping it simple, high level is the name of the game here in our podcast. Is to share as much as we can, but again, to give you that guidance that you need, which is key. So there you have it, man. The 5-point checklist. And again, what are they? The neighborhood vibe, right? The layout and the flow of the property, and to Ernie's point, the exterior as well, right?
Yeah,
The
it's gotta
backyard,
flow inside
right?
and out.
The big 3 ticket items, right? So the roof, the HVAC, the water heater, right? Water and moisture. You gotta be careful. It doesn't have that weird smell. Make sure there's no mold, things of that nature. And last but not least, the potential of a good investment or a good buy versus a money pit where it's going to drain all your money, or you're not going to be happy with where you're at because it's going to have a lot of issues, right? So that is definitely the deal here. So truly appreciate you guys for sharing that. I would encourage you to start using, if you haven't, and if you didn't write the notes, write it down, but I encourage you to start using the 5-point checklist when you're buying a home. When you do so, I'm going to tell you what, you're going to be able to check off the boxes and know exactly what you're looking for to make your buying experience a lot easier. And I guess overall, you can have a lot more confidence when you're making an offer to know exactly what you're buying.
Right.
And I'm hoping that you always reach out to myself or Josh for your real estate needs. And of course, if you need some landscaping ideas, some designs, you can reach out to Ernie here at Solaris Landscape Design, because he'll guide you through that process as well. He is part of our team as we move forward in our venture as investors and realtors. So continue to reach out to us, and we'll continue to help you along the way. Next week, you guys, we are going to tackle another topic, another important topic. So prepare yourselves for that. If you do have some ideas or things you want us to also talk about in our podcast, let us know. Reach out to us. Send us a DM on Instagram at The Closing Room, and we'll do our best to kind of prepare for one of those and share that information. We are going to have a lot of different speakers as well, so make sure you guys tune in for that. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us today. It's been exciting to be here this morning and talk about the 5-point checklist. Until next time, happy house hunting, and set no limits. Yeah, absolutely.